Just click.
I look like a panda.
Yeah, let's wait.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of McLanecast, the podcast brought to you guys straight from the students of the Art Venture Production Academy. We're here with Miss Pancotti, Mr. Wulf, and Miss Trzeciak. Welcome back. We had Miss Trzeciak here last week, but you guys are new, so go ahead and give your occupations and how long you've been here.
My name is Saida Pancotti, and I'm the campus culture director, and I've been here for 4 months.
My name is Brian Wulf, and I'm the principal, and I've been here for 4 years and 6 months.
Starting off, I have a list of questions here for you guys. Miss Pancotti, you're the leadership teacher here, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So we're going to be talking about leadership. What do you guys think? Go ahead.
I love it.
What do you guys think it means to be a leader?
So, being a leader to me is being able to say one thing and actually do what you are telling other people to do. I find that it is less credible when people are saying that that other people should act one way and they don't actually follow that. So, leadership is knowing that even though it is hard, you're constantly being watched. There is always somebody watching you, and just making sure that you are doing exactly what you are saying that you embody. Kind.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Hardworking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It should be those things too.
So my grandfather was a superintendent at a school district in Santa Maria, and he would always say that we are who we represent. And so it's one of those things where I think that being a leader is that you're not above anything. When you see something that needs to be fixed, if you see trash on the ground, it's modeling, it's picking it up because you hope that other people will kind of follow suit and they'll see that you're not big enough for that. I also think it's a lot of listening qualities. It's making sure that you're hearing all sides. You obviously have to know your people, but taking time to really get to know people and what they need and what they're good at.
I like that. You guys have good answers. So I'll go in a slightly different direction since they covered those kind of topics. That something about being a leader that I think is important for people to kind of keep in mind is to remember their place within everything. And I've seen a lot where some people see themselves as a leader and then see themselves as being elevated or above those around them, which I think can be a challenge, and it's not a good position to put yourself into. It's to remember that we're all part of a team still. And just because you may have a title and you may have some decision-making power doesn't actually make you more important than the people around you, because it takes the whole team to make the operation operate. So like in my position, I'm the principal, and I'll hear it all the time. People, oh, you're the principal, you can do this, you can do that. But where we're at right now, I have nothing to do with this. This is the students, Mr. Clifton, they created this experience. Without them, this wouldn't be happening, and I can't take credit for this. It's just helping to find people and support them, and that's what I view as my role as a leader, is to find people, find their talents, and then put them in positions to use them, to be successful and build programs. But I think sometimes people take themselves too serious, and I've seen folks that do that. They're like, oh, I'm this person, I should be treated this way, and you should look at me this way, and that's something I just would warn people against. Leaders doesn't mean you're better, above. You just have a role to play that's different than everybody else's role.
No, yeah, of course. And I think that's a common misconception with leadership, you know. It's not often you find leaders that can put themselves on the level of the people they're leading. And that leads me to ask, why do you guys think leadership skills are so important?
Well, let me ask you, what kind of skills are you talking about?
Well,
What are you thinking here?
the ones you guys mentioned, like you said, putting yourself on the level of other people, being able to listen to others and get their feedback, things like that, and being a good role model. Why do you think that's important?
Yeah, well, let me try to figure out how to do it. So I would say one of the more important things, especially in the area of leadership, teachers, students, is your ability to have interpersonal communication. How do you relate to people? How do they relate to you? How do you engage with them? How well do you listen? And those are things that sometimes can be a challenge, because sometimes you just want to get things done and you're like, I want to do this, we want to get this going, and you want to just move fast. And when it comes to the skills, one of the more important skills I think is the ability to listen, hear people, understand what their challenge is. I deal a lot sometimes with upset parents, and the parent comes in and they're upset, and it takes so long to get to the root of what they're upset about, but you have to really listen and not try to redirect them and not try to make their problems go away, because you got to help them to express what it is they're trying to say. And so for me, one of the skills is communication. Being able to communicate and being able to allow other people the opportunity to communicate with you. What do you think, Ms. Trzeciak?
You know, when I think about skills and stuff that I think is important, I think that we're taught that, some people are leaders and some people are followers, and I think that that's just a miss as it is. I think that when you are a solid leader, you are able to pull out what makes people unique. So, I mean, when it comes to listening, and if you are engaged and people respect you, then you're going to get those skills out of them. So I think it just depends on if you are relatable, if the people appreciate you, if they know that you're trying to take the time. It's like with students, you know, we always say, well, no one likes to learn from someone that they're not respected by, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where you're able to pull out students and, you know, really see kind of where the gaps are and pulling those strengths out of them once you get to know them. So I think that that's something that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
I would agree with both of you. I do think that with leadership skills, just doing something like this in high school, you know, learning how to work on a team, but they're all leaders within their own right. It's hard to learn those skills, especially when you're in high school, because there's just so many different things going on, so many different personalities. But that's never going to change. Like, you're always going to be going into a workforce that has so many different personalities, and you have to learn about, like, listen to people, learn their stories. You have to get down on their level. You have to try or up to their level, who knows? But you have to try and make sure that you are exposing yourself to as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. So that way, when you are going into adulthood, that these things are not new skills for you, that you already have them and they're inherent, and you're just bringing them out and using them every day like you did in high school.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I actually like that one. I want to reinforce something too, is you got to always be wanting to learn. And I think that's important too, is you have to continue to want to learn and know more. Not just think I know everything or I've already done this before, and be open to new ideas and open to change. I do things different now than I did when I first got here. And that's important, I think, to be willing to change yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are all inherently leaders of students because of your occupations. How do you think students can become leaders?
I think stuff like you're doing right now, like this is kind of trend setting, right? Like, it's one of those things where you can't be afraid to fail. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now, it's one of those things that you have to get back up again. And so I think that when you have something like this where it's like, well, how can we even make this happen? When you have someone as amazing as Mr. Clifton back there, I think that when you have someone that believes in what they want to accomplish, like people like you, like what made you want to do this? Like, what made you want to be a part of a podcast? I'm sure it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for sure. It is nerve-wracking, but I always, since the beginning of the school year, I wasn't put into this class by choice. Like, sorry to admit that, but this wasn't my first choice. But after being here for just a couple days, I realized this is something that I wanted to stay a part of, just Mr. Clifton's class and all. For a few years now, I don't know exactly when, but I've had high goals. I want to become a journalist and one day go to NYU, and I've seen the pathway, and I think this pathway would provide a lot of opportunities for me to accomplish my goals of getting into NYU one day. And doing things like this and Highlander Highlights, broadcasting, seeing myself on camera all the time, it's definitely scary and nerve-wracking. I'm always nervous talking, but you know, it's something that I've learned, like, I have to push through. Like, it's just one day of talking and a lifetime of what I want, you know, to become a journalist one day. So it's just about pushing through for me.
That's awesome.
That's great. And you're doing great. Like, you're the natural at this one.
Thank you. I didn't come naturally, though. I feel like I've gained a lot of confidence in myself since doing, like, Highlander Highlights, things like that. Like, I was a really, really shy person before. I remember almost throwing up before presentations before. And now it's like I can give presentations in history class like nothing, you know? So
And
I've
you're not
grown
shy
a lot.
now. Like, we're all sitting
Yeah.
like statues, and you're like looking around and moving, and we're all like,
She does all
I
the
don't
right
want to
angles.
move. My palms are all sweaty.
Yeah,
like,
my palms
yeah.
are
Thanks.
sweating.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm like, man,
No, thank you so
you're,
much.
you're doing great. So
Thank you. And I still have a lot of room to grow, I think. And doing this, I think by next year, if we're still doing this, which I hope Clifton has me back, but if I'm still doing this, you know, it takes a lot of practice, I feel like.
So you're only a junior?
Yeah, I'm only a
Oh,
junior.
that's exciting. I thought you were a senior.
No, I'm a junior.
So I'm going to agree, by the way, with my dear friend, Miss Trzeciak here. Because she did talk about one thing, I think it's important, especially at a young age, and it's something that everyone struggles with, but it is the fear, and it's the fear of failure, and it's when you fail, knocked down and not wanting to get back up or to just pivot. And so many people give up without doing something for a second chance or learning from their mistakes. They just get deflated because you put so much into it, you're excited, and then you feel like you let yourself down, your family, your friends, and then they just quit. And I think if you did a podcast here about failure, everyone would have crazy stories about failures they've had and struggles in life and challenges they had to overcome. But for each of us here, we've all had our own failures, and they're things you had to learn from and overcome. And those, I'd say, are a big reason why I'm where I'm at, was learning from my mistakes and trying to continue to improve and grow, and not being defined by single incidents in life, especially at a young age. It's so hard when you're 16, 17 that you make a mistake and then it just tears you down, and it's hard to come back from it. So even if you want to be a journalist and it doesn't work out, it's the what's next, or how do I keep working towards that goal. But just if you don't achieve one goal, how do you set your next one and keep working towards it and learning from failure and not fear failure? Like, I fail all the time. Miss Pancotti fails every day, sometimes
day.
4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. Like, today she didn't even bring me a Starbucks. Like, that was failure number one.
Yeah.
Miss Trzeciak had Dutch Brothers. I didn't have a Dutch Brothers. She failed me. Just kidding.
Or by principal.
I know. Like, I'm just here to build people up. Just saying.
Oh, come on.
But I would say that's a real thing. Like, especially when you're young, is to not give up, set goals, and work towards them, and be willing to pivot. You never know where your life's going to take you. I would tell you without a doubt, I never thought I'd be here.
I can
Like,
agree
as a-
to that. I never thought I'd be in this
Yeah.
position either.
17-year-old me, I would have never told you I'd be here. I was like, I hated school, wanted nothing to do with it. Never would have guessed this is where my life path would take me. But you never know.
Ms. Pancotti, do you have any opinions or thoughts on how students can become leaders?
Well, I can say personally, so now being a leadership teacher, this was something that I was not planning on doing in my career, but I would now not have it be any different. I was never in leadership when I was in high school. I wasn't super shy, but I did definitely stayed in the shadows. I wasn't trying to be the big personality on campus. I just did what I had to do and go home. So what the things that I do miss now, especially being a leadership teacher, is there's so much community that's built, and there's so much communication, like we talked about before, that I wish I would have gotten in high school instead of waiting until I was in college. I didn't even make friends in college. Like, I was really just there to get my education and get out. So I had to learn a lot of things, and I had to be comfortable with myself enough in order to get there, in order to start fulfilling my little leadership person inside of me. So communicating is something that everyone has to do every single day with people that they like, don't like, indifferent to, and it's leadership skills are just so important, and they carry throughout life. So
Oh yeah, for sure. As a leader, what are some of the obstacles that you guys had to overcome to get to that leadership position?
stumped.
Mine's pretty long, so you guys could go first. It's pretty long. It's a long response.
I was actually going
It's
to give
okay,
you a
it's okay.
response for you. I was just going to be like, here, I'll say what Trzeciak said.
Go ahead. Do it. See.
Ask me one more time. Go ahead.
Okay, so the question was, as a leader, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to go through to get to the leadership position, or any obstacles relating to leadership that you've had to overcome?
So I'll do an easy one, and then it's something that a lot of people have probably struggled with in the position. One of them would be just self-confidence and self-doubt, are you doing the right thing? Are you the right person for it? Should I be taking this? Should I do this? Am I doing the right thing? Sometimes you make decisions may be hurtful to other people, and you start to second guess yourself, and you have to really trust your training and your background and that you're doing the right thing. But self-doubt can be a real thing where you start to question, or insecurities where you just feel uncomfortable that the position that you're in. That's one for me that's been a struggle at times, is just security. Like, is this right? Am I the right person for this? Am I here because of these other reasons? Do I actually deserve where I'm at? Those are things you struggle with at times. And your own backgrounds. Like, we've all made mistakes. Like, that's a real thing too, where you're like, man, I'm here coaching a person, but I made the same mistake when I was in their shoes, but now I'm going to act like, well, you really let me down. Miss Trzeciak, you made a big mistake. And in my head, I'm like, I did way worse than her. Like, I was way worse, but now I'm going to pretend like I'm like high and mighty and I'm better than somebody else. And then it's like not being true to yourself, and you feel a little like guilt, but at the same time, you can't go around telling everyone your mistakes. Like, when a parent comes in, their kid's suspended, I can't be, I did the same thing, don't worry. I did way worse than your son. Like,
And I didn't get caught.
like, he's gonna be fine. Like we stole a car. Like, we were way worse. Oh, hang on, it's another podcast for the day. Don't worry. But like,
Scratch that.
it's one of those where you have to remember to be true too to yourself and your own background, and then be fair to others and treat them with respect and dignity. But I don't know. I took that in a different direction, ladies.
Well, I can say that I did not, like I said before, I did not know I would be in this position in May of 2022. When I started teaching, I was even scared. I was my own obstacle. I was the only person getting in my own way. And I told myself, like, oh, kids are not going to take me seriously. They're not going to respect me because I look the same age as them. I'm shorter than them, most of them. So once I got into teaching, then my own self-confidence, I was like, oh gosh, I can do this. Like, people are listening to me. I'm able to talk about science for an hour, and kids are doing what I'm telling them what to do. This is great. But I kind of found my own little niche of how I taught and what worked for me. And then I felt comfortable. I got really comfortable with teaching in a science classroom. And then I got thrown for a loop. I was brought over and talked to Mr. Wulf, and he kept trying to tell me, well, we need a CCD. And I was like, well, what about science? And then he was like, no, I think you can do it. And I went home and I spiraled hard. And I just kept telling myself, there's no way I can do this. I'm going to be working with other adults. I'm used to working with kids for 6 hours out of the day. How am I going to adjust? And then once I got here, I'm just figuring it out. Fake it till you make it. That's really the leadership.
It's true. And she's not lying on that one, because I think we only did the interview out of being nice to each other, because I don't think she wanted to be there, and I was just doing it because someone else had asked. Like, hey, I need you to interview this person. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, we'll just interview her real quick. And then we started trying to talk her into it, and it's been a good pairing. I think it was a good decision.
Yeah, honestly, I can't imagine what I would be doing right now. I can't imagine where I was doing the same thing I was doing before, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
Just so y'all know, Ms. Pancotti 1,000% came in with the intent of blowing us off after 5 minutes. Like a 1,000%, I'm just here to be nice because this person wanted me to do this. And 1,000% I was like, I don't think she wants to be here, so now we have to convince her to be here. And then we went on the recruitment trail, and it worked out great. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you did it, but she took a chance too. That's the risk.
Yeah.
So you talk about things with leadership too. It's not being afraid to take risk. People use words like bold and all kinds of stuff, but the truth is you got to not be afraid of putting yourself out there. And when you ask like what natural leadership traits are, sometimes there are the people that aren't afraid to be out in front. So I have personal experience in my life with a lot of folks to like be behind the scenes criticizing people, but they never wanted to be the one out there taking the hits. So they want to sit back and question it. They want to sit back and judge people, and there's safety in that, because you guys can sit in a position and people could judge me all day long and say, oh, Wulf should do this, he should do that. But they don't want to put themselves in the position to be responsible for the decisions. And that's where I'm at, is I have to have accountability for decisions that I make. And you can't fear it, but it's also one of the things that puts people in leadership positions, is not being afraid to put yourself out there or make mistakes. And I think that's something that I look for in students, or who are the ones that naturally put themselves out there. They're like you right now. Other kids could have been in here and you're like, no, I'll do it. Like, I'm nervous, but I'll do it. I'll put myself out there, and it puts you a step ahead. of your peers.
Yeah, I hope that's what this comes off as, because, like I said before, it is really scary. But being, the one person here, it's a really, really amazing opportunity that a lot of people are scared to do, which I completely understand because it is scary. But after getting through a little bit of it, it gets less scary.
Yeah, like today, Ms. Trzeciak got on the stage and gave what did you do?
What is that called?
A grito.
Yes, I did that.
And she did it to, support the kids and get the ball started. But that is also a form of like leadership. There's helping to get things going. Now, I was like, I ain't going up on the stage. Like, oh, you ain't get me up there. Like, I'm not about to
Do you want
do
to do it right now? There's
Go
no
for
one
it.
around.
Go for it.
I've already showcased my talents for today, so I think that they would love to hear you.
With how loud these microphones are, I'm like concerned what it would do to us.
I don't think the decibels are going to go that high. I think we're good.
Hey, I'll do it if Pancotti does it.
My vocal cords are not warmed up.
I tell you what, you could do it in Spanish. We heard you speak Spanish on the way in. So just do it in Spanish, and then I'll do it in English.
I haven't warmed up yet, and my throat hurts.
I'm actually.
It hurts.
Be like, oh, la, 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 la. You gotta get it going.
That's really good tone.
So I was actually in choir in high school.
You were in choir?
Yes, and this is a true story. We were singing, and the kid in front of me turned around and he goes, "You, don't sing anymore. I don't want to hear a single word out of your mouth for the rest of the year." He goes, "All you're going to do is say the word watermelon, but you're not even going to say it. You're just going to sit there and go." And he's all, "Sell it," but I was not allowed to actually project my voice. I was given a directive that they didn't want to hear my voice in choir. And I had to lip sing the word watermelon for the year.
Pretty bad. That's your
I don't know where that kid is, but he deserves a medal. Better track him down.
I actually ran into him at CarMax. I'm like, "You're that kid that told me I can't sing in choir. What's up now, punk? Come on. Go get my car."
Oh, man.
I would like to say that this is not how it is on a daily basis, but it absolutely is.
I also got kicked out of choir, so I didn't make it through the semester.
So maybe he was doing you a favor.
I got removed from the class. So
Oh, gosh.
Feeling good.
I was not a
Thank you
good
so
leader.
much for that. Thank you.
You guys ever been kicked out of a class?
No.
That's a story for another time.
I was scared of my dad growing up.
Really?
I would have gotten in so much trouble.
I even got kicked out of a college class.
Oh.
College class? What did you? I'm not gonna ask actually.
I'll tell you, I wasn't doing anything. Stephen Hall was over here talking, and the guy accused me of it, and then I got defensive, and then I was rejected from the class.
That's what it means to be a leader.
No, that's what it means to retake a class that you paid for and lose $700.
You didn't just get kicked out of, like, one day you got completely kicked out of the class?
Yeah, college is different. Like, he wasn't going to pass me. Like,
Missed the boat on that one.
and I was like, "It wasn't me." And he's like, "What was I talking about?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I wasn't paying attention either, but I wasn't the one talking. It was Steven. Kick Steven out."
Thank you so much for that.
Sorry, it's just an antidote.
Ms. Trzeciak, going back to the question, as a leader, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to face?
So most people that I work with, like day in and day out, know that I have at times like a stuttering or a stammer. And most people, like at first, it was very, very hard for me when I was in, I would say, the tail end of high school going into college, because I experienced it after a head injury that I had when I was playing soccer, because I played soccer a lot. And that was something that was very new to me, because I was always used to kind of being open and honest and talking to people. And then once that happened, I noticed that it was getting more severe as I would go to my doctors and stuff like that. And so I had to kind of really take a step back. And, you know, I would go to speech doctors, because it was something where I knew that it was hindering me from things that I wanted to do. And so now there are key like wordings and stuff. Like I will word things a specific way that sometimes it's kind of like it's off the wall, because I'm always have that fear that when I try and pronounce like a specific syllable that it'll cause it. when I was in college, and then as I was going through like teaching and stuff like that, you have kids are like they joke around, and so it's something that I'm used to now, and that I've had to really have to deal with, especially like with this, like you're public speaking all the time, especially when you're in a role like this. So it's more so just realizing that it's intentional planning, but I also think I'm going to toot Principal Wulf's horn here for a minute. He's not a micromanager by any means. So it's one of those things where he lets us go in positions where if I screw up, it's more like, okay, so what do we do? Like, it's never like, oh, what are you doing? And there's been a lot of times that we've really kind of put our necks out and we've tried things that are new, and one of them completely flopped. It was crazy. I remember him looking at me and he's like, "This is gonna get better," and I'm like, "Okay," we're on stage, like this is a nightmare. And then now, like it's it's just you have to do it and you overcome it and you think about the ways that you can fix it. It's constantly striving to do something new. So that's definitely something I'm still dealing with on a daily basis. So that's a big one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just because I'm curious, what were you referring to?
What do you mean?
The thing that flopped where you guys were on stage.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
You'll see in a couple weeks. So I'll let you expand.
No. Trzeciak did a great job. We had an awards banquet like 4 years ago. And they planned it, and she did a great job planning it. And then some other people changed the plan the day of. So they just changed everything on us. And then the whole thing just went down the toilet. And me and her are on stage, and we're watching everyone leave, and we're not done yet. To go get brownies, and like it's just a total trek. And we were just talking through what went wrong on stage. But since no one was paying attention to us, it didn't matter. So we're just sitting up there with our teeth like this going, this is weird, huh? It's almost like all those meetings we had were for nothing because
I was like, are they really getting brownies? Like we're just looking at each other like, my God.
So yeah, it was just crazy. Like people were walking in and out. It was just, and it's all because two people, they're not here anymore. They just changed everything on us. They just decided they want to do it different than we planned it. So we went through that, but.
You gotta adapt and overcome.
There you go.
Sure.
I was gonna say
Exactly.
leadership quality, adaptations,
And that was in
Yes.
adapting to a situation.
Like Marines, whatever they say.
What?
Adapt. I don't know. There's like a. It's
I
from a
feel like
movie.
that's every branch of the military, but it's
Yeah, you're the
good.
military wife. What's John say when he's like got adversity?
Off we go into the wild blue yonder. He's in the Air Force, so
Wait, they actually sing that?
that's like part of the creed, I think.
That's
oh
awesome.
God, I really hope that's right because I don't want him to,
I don't think that was like a Disney song.
No, it was, but I think it's true.
And I mean, no disrespect to the military branches. I'm sorry, just
No, it is. I think it's like
that was
I think
like
it's
Bambi.
a song.
Kung Fu Panda. Like I thought we were going like somewhere. Like we're off in the deep blue yonder.
I heard it from somewhere.
Mr. Wolf, do you want to give us a concert here? Show off those choir skills?
Oh, hey,
Finish the Disney songs?
wow. We could do a Disney song podcast. That'd actually be fun. We should do like name that song where we all come in with our own songs written and then we start singing it and we see who can get it first and collect
I am
points.
so good at that
I
game.
would dominate that.
I'm so good.
Oh, we could do it right now then. You guys got one? Everyone think of their favorite Disney song.
She's like, we don't have time for that. Moving on.
Clifton's the one that probably would tell us we don't have time for that. We'll wait till the end.
No,
Save that to the
Clifton, he's not paying attention. He's taking a nap.
Yes,
He went
he's
night-night.
right there.
He said something, but I don't know what he said.
He said, I went Mimi's. I went to babysit a kid and I just couldn't get him to go take a nap. And I was like, hey, we got to go to bed. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, bro, you're going Mimi's. This kid cried for 45 minutes.
Did he go to bed though?
No, he cried for 45 minutes. His mom came and I'm like, he didn't know any of the words. She's like, yeah, we speak Spanish at home. And I'm like, well, I said Mimi's and he lost it. She's like, oh, you done messed up. I'm like, what's like the go-to word then? Like, golly. Gerardo, he's like 15 now.
Well, Wolf might have sang to him first,
Oh, hey,
What actually caused the tears?
and then it led to the 45
I'm gonna
minute
tell you right
meltdown.
now, I sang to him. It was not Disney songs.
Okay, Okay, back
You're like
to
Rob Zombie, let the bodies hit the floor. Like I was like, Bud, you are going to bed. It didn't work. He's probably still up. I bet that little kid still hasn't gone to sleep yet.
Sorry. I think we need to get back on track,
Yes.
though.
All right. What was that question that you asked Trzeciak?
She asked
What
about.
question did I ask?
She asked about.
I asked about obstacles.
Yeah, how you had to
I don't know
overcome
if we-
something.
Well, I mean, she's got to overcome great hair. Like, that's a challenge. Trzeciak has the best hair in the office.
God.
That's been a
If
constant
anyone
struggle.
wants to know what happens in the office every day,
The jealousy
It's
of that, like, I can't even cover the back of my head, and this girl's got more hair than she needs. Like, I can literally just cut a lock off and plug it in. Obstacles, I'll tell you, it's what Trzeciak was talking about, too. It's trust. Being willing to trust other people, not trying to control everything. Sometimes in your position of leadership, you feel ownership of everything, or responsibility. And within that, you may not want to trust other people. And then it's almost like if you're in a situation like your parent. You got to give people an opportunity to grow, and you have to give them a chance to learn, and you have to accept that they may not know things yet, and they're going to have to learn it. And you learn a lot of times through failure, but that's always been a challenge for me, because the reality is in their roles, I've done both their jobs. And I've done them for years, and there's things I could step in and do in their jobs. But if I do that, then they're never going to grow into their roles either. And then I'm micromanaging, is what she talked about, or I'm trying to control everything, or you're not showing trust. And the flip side is nobody wants to be in a situation where they don't feel valued, supported, or trusted. And then you'll lose friends and good people because you don't treat them well. You talk down to them. So if I met with Pancotti and like, you have to do it this way, and I did it this way, and this is what I did in 1974 when I was the CCD, and do it just like I did, then she would be like, hey man, if you want to do it, then just do it. Like, why am I here? So trust, I'd say that's a big one, is just trusting other people, giving them opportunities, and then trying not to be judgmental. If you guys were to ask Miss Rod, she would tell you I'm super judgmental, because I used to give her a hard time about things all the time, and she'd be like, Wolf, shut up, quit talking to me. But
We'll ask her about that eventually.
oh,
for
you
sure.
do. She was supposed
We'll
to be here
write
with
that
us
down.
today, but you're good luck getting her on camera. Good luck. You're gonna have to like sneak up behind her so she doesn't know she's being recorded, and like hold these over her head like this, so she doesn't know.
put a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put a microphone in a bottle, and I'll just sit there and just be like, oh, it's just my bottle. What do you got, Pancotti?
Obstacles?
Yes.
Yeah. Not like hurdles you jump, like, leadership obstacles.
Well, to go back to the micromanaging thing, it's so easy to want to control everything. And I think working with students, you just gotta let go. Gotta let go of a lot of things. But it is hard for a lot of people. But it makes a lot of employees or students shut down. If you're gonna try and hinder my growth or what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm not going to listen to you. Like, that happens to a lot of kids. It happens in classrooms, and happens in jobs, and it is really stifling, because it doesn't allow you to just sit in your creativity, because when you're in leadership positions, you are able to be creative. You're creating new teams, you're creating new, I don't know, fill in the blank, but you are not able to
Posters.
do that. Oh gosh. Yeah, posters, that's what leadership is.
And glitter bombs.
Yeah. I think there's glitter on
Yeah,
the
I
tablecloth
noticed
already.
the glitter in your hair,
Yep.
but I wasn't gonna point it out.
So being a leader is not caring how you look.
We should start doing
you guys
glitter
so
bombs.
Yeah.
Actually, don't. We just got done with the eggs. No glitter bombs. Let's not.
Oh Lord. The eggs.
Just roll around in the leadership floor. That's a glitter bomb.
Oh, hey, I'm just go home covered in glitter, like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's great.
Moving on, away from leadership skills, as you guys know, last year we had to go to online classes. Things got put on hold for a while, and beginning of this year too. So now that we're back from COVID, how have you noticed campus change? What are the changes you've noticed around campus?
I feel like there's a lot of anxiety with adults and with students. Students are really afraid to do things. There's hardly any participation. if you want them to participate, the event has to be so long in order for them to get comfortable first, and then they start participating. Like, it's not as instant as it was before. And yeah, I don't know what else.
No, you're right. You even saw like a prom the last 2 years, like the hesitation for the kids to even get out and dance, and they stay more closed off in more personal space.
Yeah.
Let me try to think. So when we had the closure in 2019, and everyone that worked here knew this, and it's been a challenge for us. Like, McLean had a real family atmosphere going with the staff and the students. We had high participation. We had a campus where everyone really seemed to enjoy being here. It was fun. We didn't have safety concerns. It was just a great experience. And when we came back, I think we thought, man, it's going to be back and it's going to be great. And it wasn't. People were more closed off. They don't communicate as much. They wanted to keep more to themselves. Even look at the amount of kids that masks aren't required that still wear a mask to just keep their own anonymity and privacy. That's a change. And more people are introverts now. And I think we've seen the ramifications of people being closed off from the world for 2 years, that they're not as relational, and that there is more anxiety and there's less of a desire to come together in a group. And it's been a challenge. The energy is different. The campus vibe has been different. Seniors will tell you that. Like, it doesn't feel the same. They were thinking they were going to come back and have the senior experience of the class of 2018, 2019, and it hasn't been the same. We've struggled to get things going, get people involved, get kids into class. So it's been some challenges with that, but that can go on for quite a while potentially. And it's not just the students, that's in all industry sectors that there's been trouble with getting folks back into the swing of things. Teachers have struggled with it. I had my own struggles with it. Trzeciak didn't. She's just a ray of sunshine every morning, and she comes in. I don't know if you guys know this. Every morning she serenades us in the office with a song. Like we every day we get a new song sang to us or sung to us. Sung. When do you sing something?
It's not recommended by most people. It just happens.
Yeah, go ahead, give them one of your songs.
I'd love to hear that, Miss Trzeciak.
Do the Yin Yang Twins.
One to them. Most of the time it's Let It Go by Frozen.
This
It's
is
also
true.
songs from the Encanto soundtrack. Especially the ones in Spanish. I've been getting into those.
What one is Bruno? Is that from that show?
We don't talk about Bruno, no.
What movie is that?
It's from Encanto.
Yes.
So most kids are aware of my antics specifically, and you notice that we had like a 2-year gap essentially, right? Like we have kids that are 10th graders now that were 7th graders or 8th graders when this happened, and so they were lacking in that onboarding type of experience. And so then you add the masks in there, right? So they're not able to really see your facial expressions. We know that distance learning was hard for a lot of people, whether it was technology, whether it was just I'm not getting the support I need, whether it was siblings that are around them and that are learning at the same time. We had kids that were like, I have to go clean the dishwasher, and then they come back to class. So I think it's now that you have everybody that's back in a central spot, I think that the hard piece is that kids have been so used to talking to people. If there was conflict, it was online. They didn't have to see the person. And then it's kind of like, hey guys, welcome. Everyone's, and so it's just trying to get a feel for things. But I also think that we, like Pancotti said, we have a lot of families that were affected by this and lost someone to COVID. And so I think it's respecting boundaries. And realizing like I'm keeping my distance because I live with people close to me and I can't afford to lose somebody again. I know that specifically with staff. Like Wulf said, it was like everyone was doing everything together. We like staff meetings, parties. We have our PLCs, which is where our teachers spend time and they plan together. We have a lot of new staff now. So they didn't get onboarded in that way that we were, the way that we left. So it was just kind of, I'm throwing everybody back in. I think that we're getting there. We've had a lot of activities. We had football. We have a lot of our stuff that's starting back up again. But I think it's just people trying to get more comfortable enough to come back and feel comfortable. So, I mean, we're going to get there. Stuff like this. Like we still have those things. Like I always call us a trendsetter school. Like we always have those things where we're starting and we're not stopping.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, from a student's perspective, I have noticed a lot, like it's hard to get people to participate in a lot of things. And you guys kind of touched on that. Participation is really low.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, for some students, it's really hard to be a leader, going back to leadership, and, be the first person to do something. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's part of the reason why participation's so low. But what do you guys think? How do you guys think we could, raise participation around the school? Because I do feel like that's a problem that could solve a lot of the obstacles we're facing right now.
I want to hear from the participation coordinator.
Well, I think, like we talked about, I didn't realize in high school that I was a leader. Now I do. I was a leader. Everyone has a leadership quality within them, and nobody's had to use that muscle in a long time. And so I think it's just easing people back into participating, people back into being the first one to do something. Because I just kept thinking during the pandemic, I was thinking at home, man, if I was a kid, I would not be doing well right now. If I was in high school, I would not be doing well. And then coming back on campus with so many people, I would also feel very overwhelmed. So I think just being gracious towards people and realizing that they're going to take a little bit of time to get back into those in their leadership selves, students especially, it's gonna be a while. They have to work out those muscles. And
now you sound like the bad Pancotti.
oh gosh.
we gotta work out these muscles.
Figuratively speaking.
That word's too big for him. He's like, yes, I am figuratively talking about these muscles. I hope Mr. Pancotti watches this. And so every morning I work out with Coach Pancotti in the morning. You can't tell, but if he watches this, I'm going to hear about this tomorrow. And he's going to use the word figuratively incorrectly at least 10,000 times to prove a point.
Yeah. He likes college words figuratively.
Is that a college word?
For him it is.
Wow. We need an edit button. Like a kill switch that we can talk off topic for 20 seconds and then pick it back up. So I'll share this with you because I'm going to talk a little bit too. I think for me, a challenge, I think it's the same for everybody, is when you step away from something and you don't have to do something you were doing for a long time anymore, and you go back, you might question, do I even want to do this anymore? Or is there any value to what I'm doing? And from a personal experience, there are a bunch of things I did before that I just did because you're supposed to do. I don't do them anymore because we didn't do them for so long. I'm like, man, I don't even know if there's any value to this. I was just doing it because it's a checkbox that you're supposed to do. And I think school's that way. If you ask kids, there's times they have busy work, things they don't see value in. And I think after not doing it for 2 years, I think they struggle to be like, I'm just going to do this out of compliance. That they want to do things that have meaning or purpose. And it might be something that everyone needs to take a look at and say, am I doing something meaningful that will impact or better someone's life? Or is it just check boxes to get through time? And I know personally, one of the things I hated about school was I thought a lot of it was pointless. And when we got away from here, I looked back and thought, man, there's a bunch of stuff we do even at McLean that I don't know how much value there is in it, but we have to do it. And so I've readjusted what I do. And now some of the things I need to start doing again, I'm just being lazy because I'm like, man, maybe we should do that. But I think if we were to poll students, they would tell you they don't necessarily see the value or connection to what they're being asked to do. And after not doing it for 2 years, they're struggling to just want to play along. Now they do like the social aspect though, of hanging out the benches. That's that part they still enjoy.
Well, that's what they were missing, so.
That's true.
And the Dimmery's got to come yell at them. And Tron's out there yelling, Toddy's weak.
I think it's hard too because what kids like is different. Like when we left in, when was it, 2018?
2020?
1984.
I forgot.
2020.
2020.
I forgot what was popular then, and then it's 2 years of COVID and then coming back, it's just the stuff that you used before, it may not be as effective. It's like with instruction, something all because I've done it for this many years, it doesn't mean that coming back it's going to be as effective. I can't function with this right here. So I think that's key
With
too.
this? What does that mean?
So we're constantly, I think it's just that we have to take a look at what we're doing, and like he said, is there value in these activities? Is there value in what I'm teaching? Is there value in this? So I think it's just going back and really realizing that stuff has changed in 2 years, and what we did then, it may not work now. So how can we get students more engaged and bring in the pieces that they actually, that they're used to and that they like? I think that's big.
For sure.
It's a good answer.
It was a very good answer. You guys are all doing amazing, by
I
the
know,
way.
aren't they? They're done really good, huh?
Yes,
We
of
should-
course.
It's like I've done this before.
Well, you did really good the first time, too.
Did she?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw 7 people watched it.
They haven't even uploaded it
I
yet.
know.
Clifton's watched it all 7 times.
Him and Miss Gonzalez, they're sitting there in the house, just like, what do you want to watch tonight? Trzeciak's podcast.
Maybe what
The
you?
dogs are gonna come up there. They got this cool Star Wars carpet thing going. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, they got a real nice house. Did you know his wife? She works at this McLean too. She's great.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
I've met her.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, for sure. She's amazing. Like, her and Clifton have been a really, really big support to me. So,
They
I
are
appreciate them.
top-notch humans. I love them.
No, they're great. They got cute dogs. It's good stuff.
Okay, so, next question. All leaders have strengths and weaknesses, which you guys kind of touched on. But what would you say are your personal strengths and weaknesses with your leadership role?
I'm really shy. It's something
Are you?
It's something I struggle with on a daily basis. No. Honestly, I would say that a strength would be that I don't take myself seriously unless it's a situation where I need to be present. I would say a weakness is sometimes I was that kid in high school and in college where you had a group project and you literally were like, I'm doing this all myself because I don't think that you're gonna do it. And so I would just be like, I'm gonna write this anyways, I'll put your name on it, and it was one of those things. So I think that it's really just delegating a little bit more effectively, I would say. But that's where the trust factor comes in. So when you work with people, like I've worked with these people for almost 4 years. So you know them and and you build off of each other's strengths.
For sure.
Yeah, no. I like you, Trzeciak. But she's
Record that.
She's not shy
Play that
at
back.
all. There's nothing shy about a woman that wears a pizza costume to work,
Oh, gosh.
dressed up like
I
Shrek.
haven't seen any of these pictures, like, at all. I had
Pictures she did on Tuesday.
Okay, first off, it was not Shrek. It was Nemo.
She came in one day in an Elsa costume. It was just a random Wednesday. We had an event here and the superintendent was here and she's out dressed like a fairy. And they were like, hey, who's that person over there? Like, do they need some help? And I'm like, that's our vice principal. They're like, she's over there with the wand blessing all the children.
Okay, first off, it was the first day of school, and I was in spirit, and
Participating.
I had on a tutu, and it was school appropriate. So it's just
I thought it was great. I'm not criticizing you at all. I love the energy that you bring. I think it's awesome.
For sure. It's definitely a strength that a lot of people lack, and I praise you 100% for it because I can't imagine being that outgoing.
I have a Christmas tree costume if you'd like to wear it as well.
We actually turned her name into a verb. When you act like a certain way, we say you're Trzeciak. Like you're pulling a Trzeciak. Like when you hit your name being a verb or adjective, I'm not good at school, so it's one of those. It's definitely it's a descriptive and action actually. So
It's
it could
an
be either.
adjective,
It could be an adverb.
Wow.
Man, Miss Clark's gonna have a field day with this. If you guys have Miss Clark watch this, I'm gonna get the longest email about grammar from her. Oh my goodness. But we call it you're pulling a Trzeciak right now, like if you do a certain thing. So that's I think that's cool when you hit that status.
You're not pulling a hamstring, you're pulling a tree.
It's like shacking a fool or I don't know. My name doesn't have that kind of thing yet. So life goals. So let's go strengths and weaknesses. So I'll give you strength that started out as kind of a weakness. So I went through a phase where I wanted to be the smartest person in the room, and you want everyone to know you're the smartest person in the room, and you want to talk over everybody and take control of everything. And when you do that, you kind of come across a little arrogant, maybe a little cocky, pompous, and a little hard for people to want to work with. So over time, I learned to just sit back, observe more, stay more quiet, watch, listen to other people, and start formulating ideas based off what you're hearing. Really, I'm stealing from other people, but then you take like the collective whole, and then you massage it, and then you're like, hey, I got an idea. And you just restate everyone's ideas, and they're like, wow, where'd you come up with that? I'm like, from listening to you jabronis for the last 30 minutes, but I just sit back and just listen and process, and but you have to get past like ego, because the ego piece is like, I want everyone to know who I am, and I want to dominate this, and I'm going to be the smartest one in the room. And that was like a talk less, listen more.
Shout out to Hamilton.
And then strength. I don't know. I don't think I have any strengths, Trzeciak.
He wants me to compliment him right now, and it's not going to happen on a recorded line.
Man, that could be strength.
God.
There's just so many to count.
Okay.
He's humble.
He's so humble.
Oh, hey, my weakness is I care too much. Don't ever say that in a job interview. What's your weakness? I care too much. I'm too passionate.
I work way too hard. I take my work home with me.
I do not take my work home. I don't even sometimes take it. No,
Oh gosh.
All right, strength. So we got weakness. Well, actually, my weakness I made it sound like a strength. So maybe that's a strength. So I don't know. I'm gonna let Miss Pancotti talk. I'm just trying to.
Good answer.
Trying to filter these all out, these weaknesses and strengths.
Going through his list.
I have a strength for him.
I know.
Okay.
I'm on the personal level now, so I got to filter these ones out.
So I would say one of my weaknesses is caring. I used to care so much about what people thought of me and what I was doing, and in my job, like I said, I was scared kids were not going to respect me, and now I don't care. But I do. Sometimes I don't care too much.
Hey kids, I don't care about what you think of me. Is that how you open your class syllabus? Like
Yeah.
bullet point 2?
Maybe it would have gone different with some students if I didn't say that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I care sometimes too much about what people are going to say about an event or a lesson or whatever it may be. I've learned how to turn that volume down in my head, of that voice in my head that's telling me this, and so it's gotten a little bit better. But yeah, I would say I care a lot. But a strength, I'm very observant, and I would say that I am a good listener.
For sure. Especially in a setting like this when we have two talkers across from us.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah, I sit
Shot.
back and listen.
Shot
Yeah.
fired. Wow.
Good one.
I'm so sorry. Was that mean?
I'm gonna be 100% real. He clearly has talked way more than me.
You think we'll have to?
Wow,
push
you should
and run the
have been
numbers
looking at our
after
eyes
this?
right now. Hey, I'm just trying to keep your podcast moving. We'll do this. We'll sit here like this now.
Oh gosh, you never listed your strengths and weaknesses.
Maybe that's one of my weaknesses. So, I'll give you a weakness, and our very own Miss Alimon helped me find this one out, which is also why I'm going to tell you all, I think it's a good thing to talk to other people and be open to hearing from other folks, and even counseling and counselors and all kinds of things like that. Miss Alimon helped me to see that I'm not good at listening and validating the concerns of others. That sometimes I would be so quick to judgment or so quick to respond that I wouldn't just let people talk. And I wouldn't process it with them and validate their concerns. I'd be so solution oriented that even if we solved their problem, they still left upset because they didn't get hurt. But I'd be so like, oh, I got this, good, fixed. And then they'd be like, but I wanted to talk more, or I had more to share, or you're just assuming that you understand. And it was about learning how to validate and listen, and then do active listening, which I'm solution oriented, so that was like hard for me because I'm like, let's just get it done, and we'll get it done as quick as possible, and that was definitely a weakness, because then you would have damaged relationships with people, and I wouldn't even know it. So there'd be people walking around here like, that guy's a jerk, and I'd be like, what? I solved your problem. Why are you mad at me? And they're like, you don't even know what my problem was. So that was one for me, is learning how to listen, validate people, and accepting that sometimes you maybe even made a mistake, or you may be wrong, and even if you didn't intend to do something that was harmful, you may have inadvertently or even intentionally hurt somebody else, that you got to own it and not run from it and just be like, hey, I messed up, sorry, I may have not meant it, but that's how you took it, and I can see why you took it that way, and that was not my intent, and I would not want to do that again. But that was a challenge, because I would view something like that as a weakness, like, oh, you're giving away your position of power and you're making it sound like you made a mistake, and I had to learn, like, it's okay to be wrong, and you don't have to be right. You can just, like, I've had to apologize to Ms. Trzeciak half the time, just half. Not even a full apology. She got the APO, and I stopped. I said, you get it, Apo. I said, Miss Trzeciak, I'm Apo.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr.
What? I want to change my answer, actually.
Oh, okay.
You were talking about something, and I realized what it was.
Wait, can we change answers? I want to go back to number 2.
No, you gotta. We're talking on this topic.
I'm not going to talk anymore because I was told I've talked too much.
Oh, sorry about that. It's up to us now.
Here, you could have 2 mics, so you talk double.
I'm listening and observing right now, okay? I would say that my weakness is actually being stubborn. And I have learned to go with the flow more in the last 4 months than I've learned in my whole teaching career. Because
Like from
there's
the
a lot of
students?
things that I cannot control. Maybe I have control issues. Maybe that's my... Let me just keep going. What else can I say?
That kind of subject.
Well,
Tell us about your relationship with your father. Where do you think your control issues originate
Maybe
from?
I need to go talk to Miss Aleman.
Hey, I literally will go in there and kick kids out. She'll be like, I'm in session. Yeah, but I got to talk. I got a problem with Aleman. I'm like, you go. Just go. Your problems. We'll deal with your problems later. Miss Aleman, here's what I said. And she's like, well, what were you thinking? I'm like, I was thinking this. She's, She does this a lot. When she does that, I don't know I messed up. As soon as she goes, I'm like, crap, I'm wrong, huh? She's like, I didn't say you're wrong. It sounds like you think you're wrong. I'm like, fine, I'll go give Lauren another apple.
it never fully happens.
What's that song? It's too late to apologize?
Yeah.
I go, it's too late. And I just stop. It's too late. Stop right there. And she's like, I'm like, didn't you hear it? Like, am I one and done? I'm on my own podcast talking about.
You actually probably would do really good with your own podcast because you can have a conversation with yourself.
Wow.
That's one of your strengths.
Kind of sounded like a backhanded compliment.
That's one of your strengths. I'm helping you. Answer the question.
Aaliyah, what are some of your strengths? Because we didn't really get to touch on that with you,
My
and I know
strengths.
that our time is coming up. So, what is one of your strengths or strengths of yours?
Well, I think one of my strengths is for sure not being afraid to, like, stand out sometimes. Even though, okay, I take that back. I am very afraid to stand out sometimes. But I still, I'm willing to take risks and things like that. And I've learned a lot from this class, and I've been given a lot of really, really good opportunities from Clifton, and that was all because, I've had the drive to want to do more, But taking away from, like, academics, I feel like one of my other strengths is not to, like, I feel like when people talk about maturity levels at, like, high school age, you, obviously being a child, you can only have so much maturity. But I do definitely think when I have confrontations with people, maturity is a really big strength to have, to not like escalate a situation, or when you're, sorry, I got distracted for a second, but maturity is definitely one of my strengths that I was fortunate enough to learn over the years.
Hey, so we have a very special guest coming in right now.
Hi guys.
This is our
Hi.
Deputy Superintendent, Miss Misty Her.
How are you guys?
Hang on one second. Well, they're a little sweaty and moist, so sorry.
Show her some love on the podcast when this comes
Yeah,
out.
come in close to the microphone. So this is Miss Her. She was actually my first boss.
Really?
She was really mean to me, actually. She made me cry multiple times.
I did not. He's like,
Multiple times. She would say things like, "I cannot believe we hired you for this job."
so
She's gonna take over now.
Special guest. Unannounced.
sorry to interrupt, but how are you guys doing?
Welcome. We're good.
What are you talking about?
We've been talking about leadership.
Oh,
So do you want to
awesome.
talk about your leadership skills? You know, like, you're a superintendent, right? So what does that
Deputy
entail?
superintendent.
Deputy superintendent.
So-
what does that entail?
So we have like the superintendent, and then I'm right like with below the superintendent, and then we have like all of our chiefs. So leadership wise, oh, closer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I'm not good at this.
No, don't worry, don't worry.
You're doing great.
So I help with everything that I work with our superintendent to make sure that, all of our curriculum, all of our operations, and everything runs in our district. So that's kind of, and I don't know if you have any other
No,
questions.
don't worry.
Yeah.
So what kind of leadership skills do you think you would need to successfully have your career?
Definitely, one thing that is really critical is I'm a firm believer in like servanthood, and so like if you want to go into leadership, you have to always really think about like people that you're serving and who you're serving, and like for me, it's really about like our the people we serve is our kids and our families, and so I'm really big on like making sure that you don't ask people to do things that you yourself are not willing to do. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So servanthood is really, important. But you want me to turn it back to your
I'm
Oh,
gonna ask you
no,
a question,
you're-
'cause this would be good for you because you're here right now. It's a podcast for students, so I'm gonna borrow your microphone real quick. So, Miss Her, one of the things.
Mr. Wolf, you can move.
You
away
need to,
from the
you
mic
can
a little
back
bit.
it semi away from your, you can go a little close, but not where it's,
Sorry. Let me
that was up close and personal.
So one of the things our students are doing, Miss Her, is they're doing podcasts. So we have these informal conversations where they ask us questions. But since we have a special guest, maybe you can elaborate on your experience and challenges you've had to overcome. I want to say, are you first generation in your family?
First generation.
So first generation. You're also the highest ranking Hmong official in education in the country. To maybe share some personal, just about your own journey, about how you ended up where you're at, and maybe some, not words of just inspiration, but motivation for the kids that you can make a future. So if you don't mind.
Of course. I think some things I've had to really overcome is just, sometimes you think that you don't know if you can do something, and I think if I were to tell students anything, I would say you absolutely can do anything you want to, or something that someone is doing, and you can absolutely be better. You just got to look at yourself, and you just got to believe that you can, or seek out mentors who see things in you. I mean, I was really lucky because I had a lot of people, teachers, counselors, who principals who saw me and just thought, you can actually do this. And then I started to think, okay, yeah, maybe I can, right? And I think it's really important for students to see and be able to look at someone and go, yeah, I think I can do that, and that person looks like me, and that person can be, I can be like that person. So that's really close to my heart. And a lot of things I've had to overcome is, you have to not be afraid and just like put yourself out there, right? And so, believe it or not, I used to be really like embarrassed to speak in front of people. And so that was one thing that, I had to really overcome as an English learner. So I had to really learn that, sometimes in in public places or when I'm with a group of people and there's people that are just like able to answer questions really quick or they're able to think really fast on their feet. And being an English learner, I had to like really learn how to process things. And so I'm like, okay, I got to think this through and then translate it in Hmong and then figure it out, you know, how I'm going to say it in English. And that actually, for me, in the beginning, I started to feel like it was a detriment, and it actually became a huge asset. So sometimes what you think are like things that you're not really good at, or things that you think, okay, I wonder what people are going to think about this, they actually can become big assets for you. And so like in what I just described to you, I learned that being able to pause, you know, translate things in my head in my own language, and then, you know, being able to say in English allows me time to like reflect, to stop, to think, and then when I actually say something, I'm intentional and I'm purposeful, you know, about it. So, you know, a word of advice to all of our students or anyone out there who's thinking about, you know, some of the things that they have in their life that they're struggling with, those actually can become, you know, assets for you. So like don't look at yourself and go, I can't do this. Look at yourself and think about, you know, what can I actually do that, you know, I have that's actually a weakness that I can actually turn into a strength. Okay, I think I gotta.
That's a big thing.
You guys want to talk to our superintendent?
No, we're good. Nothing that competes with that.
Our superintendent's actually here, so.
That whole long journey of being a ugly bald white dude. It's like playing well for me over time to like.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So that was my first boss. And we did weaknesses. She was the one that told me to listen more.
That's awesome. This is
Yes, it's
a
nerve-wracking.
lot of no. You've done a phenomenal job, and this is the second time that you've done this, and it's great.
Thank
I would
you
say
so
you
much.
are representing our school really well.
Thank you so much for saying that, actually.
No, I do. I think you guys all did great. You've done a great job facilitating. The crew back here has been
Yeah.
great.
No,
This
yeah,
is-
for sure. Even though you can't see them, they're amazing back there. They're seniors, actually, so sadly they won't be back, but they've done so good all year.
You guys are doing a great job. This is a lot of fun. I hope
It
I get
is.
invited back, although Ms. Pancotti said I talk too much, and
I said it as a strength.
I feel
but
like
it sounded
some of us
like a weakness.
Are we adding
It's-
to my weaknesses right now?
Don't get stubborn with me. You know, you can't get your way all the time. This is fun. I think we should just do this for fun. Like,
This is fun.
I want to set this up in our conference room and we'll just do our own. Like, this is how we should do all of our meetings from now on. Clifton, can we have our meetings in here and record them all?
We got the okay.
Okay. Were you saying something, Ms. Trzeciak? Sorry.
No, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that we have a facility like this. I think that this is something that we are very, very proud of, especially when we have our students that are coming in. So having something that is a state of the art as this and being able to show them and these type of experiences, this is what draws people to want to be a part of our school and a part of the program. I also think it's a huge bright spot as far as for our families too, because they're able to we can post this online and it's accessible to everybody. So Clifton, great stuff, my friend.
Exactly. And we're only growing, you know.
Just
So,
beginning? I love it. So, are we almost finished?
yes.
All right. Do you have another question or no?
No, that was all of them.
All right. Then we'll do open mic. You got
Okay.
3 people here, and we'll let you ask any question you want to ask.
Ooh.
You can go totally off script.
I don't know if Clifton would want me to do that.
You're learning how to be a journalist.
Hey,
Hard
yeah.
hitting, get the hard
Okay.
hitting news.
Hey,
Okay, so
So,
he gave you a
Alita,
thumbs up.
think of it this way. Your editor edits after you make your mistakes. So if you do something your editor doesn't like, they just edit it out.
What about one question
Okay.
each to close it out? Anything that you want to
question
ask.
each. Okay.
It could be off like, hey, Principal Wolf, what's your favorite food?
Well, that's kind of boring, but
I'm just giving a,
my favorite
anything.
food is
Okay.
pupusas.
Well, good thing we have plenty of them for you.
Yes.
This is kind of a question for all of you guys, something that I don't have written down, but like, I guess more on a personal level, I wanted to ask. Mental health is a really big problem with students. And even though I feel like we do have a lot of awareness for that now, you know, through social media, and we do have resources and things like that, sometimes it feels like it's not enough for some students. Sometimes students don't feel seen, heard, things like that, especially when it comes to motivation to want to succeed in school, participate in things, you know? So what do you have any advice at all to help people, students specifically, get through those things? Sorry
Great
to
question.
take a deep turn, but
That's really good. See, you're doing amazing. You're accepted at NYU.
Really, that just turned into like.
yeah, I'm sorry, it took a
No,
deep turn.
No, don't
No,
apologize.
it was a great question.
It's good and it's relevant.
I was gonna say really quick that I think it goes off of the COVID question. It's the human element piece. So, you know, making people feel comfortable, but also at the same time knowing the people around you and telling if there is something going on. So like I said, like I've worked with these people for 4 years. I've worked with a majority of our staff, students. I can walk by a specific student and I can tell if something just feels like it's not right. So that's why we stress on the relationship piece and letting students know that you don't have to have all the answers. Like it sounds lame, but it's the truth. All of us struggle with our own things, and finding someone that you can trust and confide in, I think is really important. Granted, we have amazing services here, so we're very lucky, but we also know that when kids go home, like sometimes that's very hard. So being able to really find the one person that's able to help and support you. But also here at school, I would say that we strive a lot, and I can walk down the campus and I can tell, like, if this kid's normally like, you know, smiling and happy, and you just kind of notice that something seems a little bit off. So knowing that you don't have to have all the answers and that people are here to support you in any way, shape, or form.
So I would say that as somebody that does suffer from anxiety, and especially during the pandemic, there was depression, and which is, I think, what a lot of people experience that didn't really know what to call those things. And I think with your generation, you guys are going to be the ones that are going to be putting, calling people out and putting names to feelings. You guys are so outspoken about how you feel. I cannot wish I was you guys enough. But as far as what can be done, if I am a student that is struggling with some sort of mental health issue, one thing that I know was really helpful for me is finding a hobby, finding something that allows you to channel your anxieties, and not distract you from it, but help you work through what's going on in your head, and telling yourself, my anxieties are making me think one thing, but that does not mean that it's the truth. So finding a hobby, and like Ms. Trzeciak said, finding people who you know that you can be 100% honest with, because we don't know what's going on at any given moment in even co-workers' lives or students' lives. Things can change in an instant, and so it is so nice to be able to sit down with a friend, a colleague, whoever, and say, hey, this is what's going on with me today. Today's just not my day. Give me a little bit of space, give me some time, and I will be back to where I am. Or can you help me? Or advocating for yourself. I told my students a lot last year, you guys need to advocate for what you need, because nobody's going to know what you need. We can't, one person might need one thing, another person might need another. So advocate for what you need and say, just, be honest.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I really like that.
Thank you.
And the COVID was real. That was the depression and everything. So I'm going to pivot for 1 second, but actually this is probably the perfect topic for our special guest to chime in on. So I'll lead you into what it is, but I've actually heard you speak on this topic multiple times. So this is our superintendent. We have a special guest joining us today.
Very sorry, I didn't
Welcome.
realize you guys were live when I told you. Oh, no, I won't get
No,
anyway. Sorry,
don't
didn't realize
worry.
we were like live on YouTube. Thanks a lot.
We're live, but we're not live. So
Okay, I got
it's complicated,
All
but
right,
it
it
will
is.
be up and running. So we're in our closeout, and the superintendent's joining us today. We're actually hosting a board meeting tonight, which is exciting. So it's great to have some folks come in. And Dr. Nelson, he doesn't like being called Dr. Nelson, but I'm going to throw your title out there. She is closing with us. We let her ask us any question. She specifically asked us a question about mental health services for kids in schools and how do we go about treating trauma, identifying it, supporting kids, and kind of taking the mask off of it, that it's okay to discuss and talk about. And I think it's appropriate because Mr. Nelson actually has talked extensively with the principals about taking care of our own mental health and addressing it, taking time for yourself, identifying triggers, identifying behaviors and working through it. And it's actually been a focus for us as adults. And I would imagine that you might have some thoughts on what it'd look like for kids and things we could do to support kids. So
For sure. I would say, like, post-pandemic, academically, like, kids are coming back, but people are still just not right for kind of being sequestered for 2 years of being by themselves and kind of, like, staring at themselves at a screen. I worry about all the teachers who spent time teaching to a screen of black faces, like you're on Teams and like every face is darkened. Like, that's not affirming and it's not good for folks. And so we're trying to figure out what can we do to, like, as Principal Wulf was talking about, like, how can we support principals? And it's really about, it starts with kind of you being okay. Like, are you in an okay place yourself? And what can you do to ensure that you are in an okay place? And then you have something, you can't pour from an empty cup is the verbiage. And so you not being right socially, emotionally doesn't really allow you to be present for other people. So we're excited. I mean, our board is making some big decisions about what they're going to spend money on. And because we're coming back academically, but we're not really bouncing back emotionally, we've got, in a 10-year span, we went from $5 million to this number, $38 million, which is really designed to, like, help provide social workers for kids or to provide counseling support staff, or just one of the things that's really happening a lot is, like, your younger brothers and sisters, really, really little kids are having behavior stuff. And it's like, we want to get you on the right foot young. Like, the younger we can get you, the better off we feel it is. And so putting, more beneficial services for little kids as early as we possibly can. But it matters a ton that you in the Media Production Academy are willing to talk about mental health issues publicly. Like, there's still super stigma associated with us even having this conversation. And even, like, he probably wouldn't tell me the total truth on that because, like, he's a good dude and wouldn't want to hurt my feelings. But, like, not every principal wants to talk about their own mental health. And people are kind of like, why are you even talking about this? Like, we should be talking about academics. Nah, not yet. Right? We will have a conversation about academics, and we do talk about that a lot. We're just not there yet because we got to make sure you're okay.
you're getting called back into your room.
Am I?
sir.
All right. Yeah, well, I got a job. That I
Thank
got
you so much for that.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. It was brief,
No problem.
kind of brief.
No,
but thank you for at least
I love
bringing
you
the
stopping
subject
in.
up.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's super important, and keep fighting the good fight on that. I think it doesn't do any good for me. Like, no high school kid's gonna listen to a guy who's 53. But they'll listen to you. So
Thank you.
anyway, thanks y'all.
You only look
Thank you.
48, Bob.
Yeah, thanks. It's not the years, it's the mileage. Anyway.
So Mr. Nelson's actually a young soul. He may say the age, but he can connect with the 12-year-old. Thank you, sir. So I'll share my thoughts on it real quick with you too. And this is something that actually bothers me, like, on a personal level. So I know a lot of things about adults. Let's just talk about school. I know a lot about, because the position I'm in, things people are going through, challenges they have, and the allowances we make for them to work through it. But we don't share that same allowance with the kids in the school. So expectations on kids is unrealistic.
Yeah.
They're expected to process trauma in real time. They're expected to learn from mistakes. They're expected to get over their insecurities. They're just expected to just deal with everything and go through the motions on a daily basis. And I think it's not fair that we have adults that are in therapy, we have adults that take medication, we have adults that are being treated for disorders, but then we don't do any of that same work with kids. We just expect, you just need to take care of this. You just need to go to class. You just need to, whatever happened to you last night, just block it out and just power through. And I think we actually then create some of our later issues in life because at a time when we could be processing and learning the coping skills, we do such a focus on just pushing it away. And I think that is a problem in our country, not just like a McLean issue, but the expectation for kids is just not realistic, that they're supposed to have all the answers, be able to process everything, make the correct decision. They're blasted when they make the wrong decision. It's not like they're given growth points. They're just put on blast for it, and they're lectured and criticized, and we don't do that with adults. Adult loses a family member, they get bereavement. You can leave for 3 to 5 days. Students are back at school the next day a lot of times.
Yeah.
Something negative happens, they're just expected to just go through the motions, and nobody even necessarily takes time to learn what's happening in their life, and that's hard because you're just then marginalized, and it makes you probably feel like you don't matter because you're dying inside and everyone's just going through motions, and you're then looking like, what's wrong with me, because they're all perfectly fine. But then the other thing is, people don't talk a lot about mental health. Most people aren't fine. And if most people are being honest, that most people are struggling and they have similar struggles, but there's a stigma attached to sharing your struggles that then you're weak or you can't handle things, and then that just starts the feelings of insecurity and anxiety. And I think it would do a lot of good if people were more open with their struggles and their challenges and shared what they're dealing with. And I would imagine that these two ladies were effective teachers, and I bet if we asked them, you probably shared a lot of your personal stories with your class, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was probably what helped you to connect with your class.
Yes.
And you probably didn't have trouble with the kids in your class. You didn't have discipline issues. You didn't have people acting up because you connected on a personal level. And you treated them like humans. And a lot of times in schools, we don't treat kids like humans. We treat them like almost like cattle. Like, you're just supposed to go here and do this, and you're supposed to go there and do that. And if you're not doing it, you're insubordinate. And I don't think it's a healthy approach to life, because that's not how we approach things outside of school.
For sure.
Like, someone could walk in my office and be like, I'm having a real bad day. And I'll be like, hey, we'll cover your class. We got you. Like, we'll help them out.
That.
Like, we'll do things to support them, because we know if you're struggling, you got to get your head on straight, and you need time sometimes. It's a lot of time.
I can say, to give a shout out to our team on campus, Miss Aleman. She's been mentioned multiple times. She is somebody that is a great listener. So if you feel like you cannot go and talk to your friends because you don't trust them or whatever the issue is, talking to an adult, though it is scary, especially as a student, sometimes will lead you to greater things to think about, and they might be able to connect with you on a deeper level than you might think. So using whatever resources that you have on campus is really important. Utilize those resources. I don't even know if I had a school psychologist at my high school.
So
That was something that we didn't talk about. So
yeah,
it's different.
Oh, yeah.
We've been lucky.
When I was in school, it wasn't discussed really at all. We have a great team, by the way. Mr. Rodriguez, like she called out Miss Alemon. I'll just all of them. Jessica, Miss Russell,
Miss Winchester, Nelson.
academic counselors. You guys got really a lot of people that will listen and care. And then the other one, I'll add in, like, so I'm a person who used to try to play like junior therapist. I like doing it with kids too, and people, like, you try to give them advice, and you're like, oh, I'll help you with your problems. And then I started talking to professionals, and I'll tell you what, like, there's a reason that people are trained, and they're better at it. Like, don't just rely on your friends and your aunt or your neighbor. Like, there is value to talking to people that went to school, that have been trained, because they are really talented. And that was like a humbling moment for me, where I'm like, man, I've given a lot of bad advice over the years.
Yeah. Advice that was probably not the best.
Man, there's some kids out there like, God dang, that Wulf guy, he really messed me up with his terrible advice.
It was the scene out of the one movie when he's like, I need to call that guy. He's like, I need to call him back.
Yeah, like, they're really good at helping you to process, and it's I think a powerful thing to do. But the mental health is real. I honestly don't think we're fair to kids. I think we expect too much out of them, and it's unrealistic. And then they're criticized, and that's when you see the spirals happen.
Yeah. Well, adults have access to things that kids might not have access to. So.
And I think talking about it here, and even saying sometimes we put too much pressure on kids, like that alone, I feel like can help a lot of students, and make them feel a little bit less stressed and feel that anxiety of needing to reach a constant level of perfection that sometimes we can just never reach.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I appreciate that so much, you guys talking about it.
I think, you know what, you guys doing a podcast on mental health with Ms. Alemon and Mr. Rodriguez would probably be really good.
Yeah.
And
It
they
would
would
be
probably
great
have
to
a
have
lot of
beneficial.
things to share, and they might be really good for kids to hear about it. Like, we all use them, so I'm just telling you, like, well, I do. I don't know about you guys. But I got like a standing appointment with Ms. Alemon.
He has a time block.
I
It's
go
more
in
of a
there,
time
and
block.
I'm like, hey, Janaea, love, hit the bricks, Janaea, get out of here. All right? Here's $5, go to the donut shop, get a Pepsi, come back in 20 minutes, it's my turn. Get out of here, Janaea. Like, I don't actually give her $5, I give her IOUs.
Well, thank you guys so much for talking. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts you'd like to put out there?
I think this is really awesome.
I know.
And I think you are amazing. And I think the people back there doing all of the video and sound are amazing. I could never do this.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really does mean a lot.
Yeah, this is outstanding. I hope to be invited back, and I didn't ruin my next invitation.
Invite me back without Wulf, please. Don't put me in the same grouping.
Really?
Don't worry.
I wanna get back
our
on here, okay?
podcast would love to have you guys back eventually. We just have to recover.
Trzeciak
from
and I are going to start our own podcast.
Nobody's gonna watch it without me.
Well, thank you guys so
Just
much.
kidding. You guys are better than me.
Thank you
Agreed.
guys so much for talking with me. Yeah. Hope
Thank
to see
you.
you guys next week.
Thank
Oh.
you for having us.
You know, we're just gonna show up every week. Like
I was talking to the audience. I'm sorry.
I know that's what we're doing.
The invitation was not for you.
I was like, they like